I used to be lost in the noise of my own existence. Not the noise of the streets or the hum of the city, but the deafening roar of a mind that never learned how to shut up. I was productive, yet I was empty. I was connected, yet I felt completely alone. Until I stood before this waterfall. Look at it. It's powerful, it's chaotic, it's loud. But if you look closer, at the very center of the falling water, there is a point of absolute stability. The water changes every millisecond, but the form stays still. We've been told that to be someone, we have to keep moving. We've turned busyness into a status symbol. But what if our greatest strength doesn't come from the hustle? What if the most radical thing you can do in this chaotic world is simply to be still? The modern sickness of more. The Western world is built on the pursuit of more. More data, more speed, more achievement. We are the first generation in human history that has effectively deleted boredom from our lives. The moment there is a gap, a line at the grocery store, a red light, a quiet morning, we fill it with a screen. But here's the cost. When you fill every gap, you lose the ability to hear your own soul. Blaise Pascal, the great French philosopher, once wrote, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." We are terrified of the silence because, in the silence, the things we've been running from finally catch up. Our anxieties, our regrets, the haunting question of, is this all there is? Stillness isn't just about relaxation, it's an act of courage. It's a confrontation with yourself. Why do we fear the silence? Let's be honest, when you turn off the TV and the room goes quiet, you feel an uneasy restlessness. We call it the void. We spend our lives filling this void with noise because if it's quiet, we are forced to see ourselves. Stillness is like a mirror. It doesn't just show you what you want to see, it shows you the scars. But a scar can only heal when it's left alone. Your mind is the same. If you keep poking it with notifications and news, it will never have the chance to scab over and regenerate. Seneca and the inner citadel. Let's talk about Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Rome, living in an empire of absolute noise. Seneca practiced something he called the inner citadel. He believed that a man should be able to find peace even if the world around him is burning. He famously said, "He is most powerful who has power over himself." Seneca didn't just talk about peace, he prepared for the worst. Every month, he lived for a few days as a beggar, eating scraps, wearing rags, and staying in total silence. He asked himself, is this what I was so afraid of? When you practice stillness, you are training for life. When a crisis hits, a financial loss or a breakup, you are ready. You've lived in that stillness before. You are the rock in the center of the flow.
Diogenes and the luxury of nothing. Then there's Diogenes, the man who lived in a tub. When Alexander the Great, the man who owned the world, met him and asked, "What can I do for you?" Diogenes simply said, "Stand out of my sunlight." Alexander was restless, always conquering. Diogenes had nothing, yet he had the one thing Alexander couldn't buy: stillness. We think we need to attain peace. We think if we get the right job or the right house, then we will be still. Diogenes reminds us that stillness isn't something you get. It's something you stop interfering with. The lesson of the empty bowl. Think about a bowl. Its usefulness isn't in the clay, it's in the empty space inside. If a bowl is already full, it can't hold anything new. Our minds are often like a bowl overflowing with prejudices, plans, and worries. How can a great idea take root? How can a genuine emotion find space? When you seek stillness, you are emptying your bowl. You are making yourself useful again. Sometimes the peak of intelligence is not knowing something new, but having enough space to understand what you already know. The science of the quiet brain. Neuroscience calls this the default mode network. It's the part of our brain active when we do nothing. This is where creativity lives. This is where we consolidate our identity. In our world, we are killing this network. We are constantly in task mode. When you sit by a stream and truly watch the water without trying to fix or plan anything, your brain recalibrates. Stillness is the soil where wisdom grows. You cannot grow a forest in a hurricane. The Way of Water, Lao Tzu. There is a lesson in water that Western minds find magical. Water is the softest thing, yet it wears down the hardest rocks. Its secret? It never fights. It simply finds the lowest, stillest point. Lao Tzu taught, if you keep the water still, the mud will settle on its own, and the water will become clear. You don't need to filter the water by hand. You just need to leave it alone. Stillness is the natural purification process of the human brain. Don't try to solve a problem when your mind is muddy. Wait for the stillness to work its magic.
Marcus Aurelius, The Inward Retreat. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, was the busiest man on earth. He wrote in his journal, "People try to get away from it all, but you can get away from it all at any time by going within." He called it the inward retreat. You don't need a plane ticket to the Himalayas. You need to find the space between your breaths. If the Emperor of Rome could find a quiet place in the middle of a war, you can find it in the middle of your commute. Creating your sanctuary. I know people who have built a sanctuary in their own homes, not with candles or incense, but simply a wooden chair facing a window where they commit to no devices. It's where time stops. Without a point of stillness, your life is just a series of reactions. Someone emails, you react. Someone insults you, you react. You are a puppet. But in stillness, there is a gap. In that gap, you have the power to choose. You don't react, you respond. A still person is the hardest person in the world to manipulate. How to practice the unlearning. How do we reclaim it? It starts with unlearning. Unlearn the idea that your worth is tied to your output. Unlearn the fear of being left behind. Tomorrow morning, for 5 minutes, don't touch your phone. Watch the light change on the wall. You'll feel an itch to check your notifications. Stay with it. That itch is the addiction to noise. On the other side of that itch is your life. I don't stand here as a master of stillness. I am like you. I still crave the pings of my phone. I still feel guilty for doing nothing. But I've realized this. Every minute I give to stillness, I get back 2 minutes of clarity. Stillness doesn't take your time. It gives it back to you. It shows you what is gold and what is trash. The waterfall is still rushing. The world is still turning. But you can choose to be the rock in the center. Go within. The silence is waiting for you, and it has a lot to say.